everyone, welcome back to the channel. The first round of fixtures have been completed. I made my predictions last week. So this video, I'm going through my predictions, going through the matches, what I saw, what I expect from certain teams this season, certain performances I want to credit, certain performances I want to discredit, especially Man United's. But let's just get straight into it. So basically, in terms of my predictions, I do a point system, and basically for this point system, 2 points are awarded for me predicting the correct result. So for example, if Brighton, say Man City played Man United and the score was 1-1 and I predicted 0-0, I predicted it's a draw, but I didn't get the correct amount of goals. So 1-1, if I predicted 1-1, I'd get 4 points for correct Man United goals, correct Man City goals, and a correct result. Whereas if I get 0-0, I get the correct result, which is 2 points, but I don't get the correct Man United goals and I don't get the correct Man City goals. So it's basically down to the amount of goals the team scores and whoever wins the game or draws the game. So let's just get straight into it. The first game of the week was Burnley v Man City, and yeah, it was an interesting game. I predicted it to be 2-1 to Man City, but it ended up being much more different, but it ended up being 3-0 to Man City. And City were much better than I expected them to be. They dominated the game. They didn't look fazed at all by the fact that they just won a treble. Like, I think Gary Neville was talking about when Man United won a treble in '99. They were let off the hook a little bit. They were not too busy celebrating, but they just completed the greatest achievement of all time in terms of English football. And I mean, maybe they were a bit lackluster the next season because they didn't really have much more to achieve. Whereas City today, on Friday, did not look fazed at all. Haaland just looked amazing as he always did, finishing incredible. I think he only had 23 touches all game, and he scored 2 goals, which is just the lethal striker that he is. I thought Burnley started off well. They were pressing high, they were putting pressure on City and they're having lots of chances, but they clearly lacked a goal scorer. And throughout this season, they're going to struggle to win games if they can't score goals. So I put 2-1 to City and I got the correct winner, but I didn't get either team's correct goals. So I get 2 points for that one. And yeah, let's just move straight on to the next one, which is Arsenal versus Forest. And I predicted 3-1 Arsenal here, and the correct result was actually 2-1. And from what I saw, Arsenal looked pretty dominant in that first half. They could have scored more, and I reckon they're the real deal this year. I think they're going to challenge for the title this year again, as they did last year. The only reason they didn't win it last year, in my opinion, was because Saliba got injured. They were let off early though in this game by a big miss from Brennan Johnson, but I think this just shows Forest that they're going to pick up points this season. They're a good team. Steve Cooper's a good manager, and they're clearly working on something for the building for the future. But overall, really, Arsenal just need to put this game to bed. It didn't need to be as close as it was. They just lacked maybe the finishing. They don't have a lethal goal scorer. I think Nketiah is a good striker. I think if they play Balogun, he's a good striker. I think Gabriel Jesus is a good striker, but he's not that. They don't have a 50 goal a season striker. I know that's what Saka and Martinelli are there to do. They're going to be the ones scoring the goals, but they don't have a lethal goal scorer. So they're going to have to try and put the game to bed through the players that they've got. But Nketiah up front, I don't think will do that. But that's not me taking any credit away from Nketiah. I think he's a good striker, and he did score at the weekend. At the end of the day, they got 3 points to start the season. That's all you can really ask for. Like last year, I think they only lost 1 game in like the first 10 or something like that, or first 18 or something like that, because then they lost to Man United 3-1. You've got to have a strong start, and even with that strong start, they still came second. So winning your first game of the season is so important to make sure that if you're challenging for the title, you get started straight away. And also, I think Timber's going to be a big miss. That ACL is really unfortunate. He looked like a promising signing. I thought Timber comes in, maybe he could have cemented that left back role, right back role, wherever Arteta wants to play him. I think Arteta's got plenty of depth in that defence, but Timber having that ACL is a big problem for them. But that just means Tierney or Zinchenko will have to step up, and Gabriel will just have to continue how he was doing last season. I know he's got a mistake in him, but they came second. They're certainly good enough to challenge again. So for that one, I get 3 points for the correct result because Arsenal won, and I got the right amount of Forest goals, but I just didn't get the right amount of Arsenal goals. So that's 3 points for that one. Then the next game, Bournemouth v West Ham. I predicted 1-1, and it was 1-1. I got it perfectly, got the correct result. I expected it to be 1-1. I thought I think West Ham and Bournemouth are equally good. I know West Ham just won a European trophy, but both teams are good. Bournemouth new manager, I think it's going to be good. I think they've got a good system. I think they've got a good focus on the future as well. I think they're going to be good. I think the big thing with West Ham is they're going to struggle without Declan Rice, because obviously he is one of the best midfielders in the world. But that just means Lucas Paqueta's got to fill in for him and provide a similar sort of game that Rice was playing for West Ham. I know it's quite high expectations to live up to, but Paqueta can do it. He's certainly a good player, but that's also if he stays, if he doesn't leave, because I think he is linked to Man City and stuff like that. But both teams will obviously be looking to stay up, maybe push for a mid-table finish, but both teams are certainly capable. And for this, I get 4 points for correct result because I got it bang on, 1-1. And then the next match, Brighton-Luton, I predicted 2-0 and it actually finished 4-1. It was pretty close. I think it was 2-1 till like the 90th minute, and then they scored 2 goals in the last 5 minutes. But just from this game, Brighton are going to have another great season, and they look to have found another gem in that Adingra, or whatever his name is. It just shows their scouting system is elite, and in terms of the profit that they've made with the transfer business, it's unbelievable. They have one of the best scouting systems, I think, in the world, and they're going to go far. De Zerbi's a great manager, and I reckon they're definitely in with a shout for a deep run in Europa League this year. No, sorry. They're definitely in for a shout for a deep run in Europa League this year. But in terms of Luton, I reckon Luton are going to struggle away from home this year. At home they'll perform better because they'll make it difficult for, I think, bigger teams and smaller teams. It's an interesting ground to go to, especially I've seen that video of away fans trying to get in, and you can see all the houses nearby. It's amazing to see, but they're going to make teams struggle there because it's a different sort of, it's not a proper stadium, but it's a different place to come. And Luton's not exactly the nicest place in the UK, is it? So, yeah, I think they still obviously have the ability to provide a big surprise, but I don't think they're strengthened enough, and I still feel they're going to go down. But in terms of this result, 2 points. So I got the Brighton win, but I just didn't get any of the goals correct. And then moving on, we've got Everton v Fulham. I predicted 1-0 Everton, and it was actually 1-0 Fulham. I got this one wrong. I knew it would be close, and I don't think either team are very good. But I think the problem with Everton is they need to stop playing Neil Maupay. I know he's been abused, and it's horrible to see online on the social media. I saw Everton speak about it, saying that he'd been abused, and no one deserves to go through that. But at the end of the day, he still isn't good enough, and he's not going to keep Everton up. He's not a good goal scorer. And if both teams are going to struggle this season and could potentially both go down, but they need goals. They need goals, Everton, and both teams need goals. I think that's why they've signed Raul Jimenez for them. But a big point for Everton is Dyche needs to solve this problem in front of goal. I don't know where Calvert-Lewin was. I don't know whether he was on the bench this weekend. I didn't really look into it. But, I mean, he's definitely going to provide a better attacking threat compared to Neil Maupay. But if Dyche doesn't want to go down, that's got to be the thing he's got to solve. So in terms of this game, I get 0 points because I didn't get anything right. And then on to the next one, Sheffield United v Palace. I predicted 2-0 Palace, and it was 1-0 Palace. I was pretty bang on, pretty close. But it was a closer match than I expected it to be. I thought Palace would dominate, but Sheffield United looked like they defended well, but they just lacked cutting edge, and Palace looked like they had everything perfect. They defended well, did the business up front, but the big problem with them is that Mark Guehi got injured towards the end of the match, and he is a big player for them. I think he's their captain. That's a big miss for them if he becomes missing for the rest of the season or whatever. I don't know how serious the injury is. Hopefully it's not too serious because he's a good centre-back, and I reckon he should be playing for England as well. But in terms of Sheffield United, they're going to have to perform a lot better if they're going to pick up points. I still don't think that they're definitely not staying up. and I reckon they're going to get a record. I don't know. Compared to Derby, with that terrible season, it's going to be close with the amount of points. But yeah, in this for this match, I get 3 points because I got the correct amount of Sheffield United goals and the correct result with a Palace win. And then on to the final Saturday game, we had Newcastle Villa, which I predicted 0-0, which is really wrong because it actually was 5-1 Newcastle, and I definitely didn't expect that. Newcastle played them off the park. I thought Tonali was great in the middle. I think I might have underestimated Newcastle this year because they just looked really good at the weekend. For a bit more depth, if they're making maybe a couple more signings the next couple of years, they're definitely a serious contender for top 4 every year, which is really good. Eddie Howe's doing a great job. But Tonali looked great, and I think Newcastle are going to do well this year. I wasn't expecting Villa to do this bad, but I feel like they lost Tyrone Mings in the first half, which is going to be a big miss for them because obviously he's a big player for them. But I don't think this will faze Emery too much. He's a good manager. He's got plenty to think about, but I'm sure they'll improve because I think when he came in last year, in terms of how many points he picked up since he came in compared to any other team, I think he was 3rd best in the league. He's definitely going to do well, and this is just a blip, first game of the season. So I think they'll be fine. And Diaby, who they signed, picked up a goal and he looked decent on his debut. So, I mean, I think he's an FPL shout. So I reckon he'll be decent this year. So in terms of this match, I get 0 points, which is a shame. And then onto the Sunday games. Brentford v Spurs, I predicted 1-1. It finished 2-2. I got the draw correct. Both teams look good. Brentford definitely won't go down this year. I think they did really well. I think Wissa and Bromo are going to cover Tony's goals. I think they're both pretty good enough to do that. There was a stat that I saw, the 5 games last season which Tony didn't play, they are actually unbeaten, 4 wins and 1 loss. And then Bromo and Wissa had 9 goals combined out of the 11 they scored in those 5 games. So they're perfectly good enough to keep up with the goal tally and keep Brentford up. And Thomas Frank's a great manager, so I think they'll do well, push for a top half finish as expected. But obviously the big talk in this match was Postecoglou's debut as the Spurs manager. And firstly, I think James Maddison is an amazing piece of business. He looked really good. He got 2 assists. He looked like he controlled the game. I don't understand why Man United didn't go for him and why we went for Mason Mount. Some signing, James Maddison, and he ran the game and he's going to be amazing. I like the style of play Postecoglou's got them playing. I like how I feel like everyone's starting to get their right back or their left back playing more of a centre mid role, and then having 3 at the back or 2 at the back and pushing up. I like it. I think Pep's obviously, because he's reinvented the game, this is his kind of tactic and people are probably copying it, but it's working. But Spurs looked really good, high energy, high intensity, and they're a shout for Europe this year. I don't think they'll do too well, but I think I predicted them to be 9th. I don't think they'll do that bad, but we'll see. And one thing I've got to talk about though, I think Heung-min Son was pretty poor. It was his first game as captain, and he's going to have to improve if Spurs want to do well, because obviously I think he's their main goal scorer. So Son has to improve, but overall Spurs played pretty well, and it was definitely worth a draw. And for that match, I get 2 points because I got the draw correct, but nothing else, unfortunately. And then it's the final Sunday game. I had Chelsea 2, Liverpool 2, but it was actually 1-1. Again, I corrected with a draw. Great match. But the big thing I noticed from this game is that both teams lacked the CDM, which is why both teams were obviously going for Caicedo before this match kicked off. And the fact that Chelsea have managed to get both Caicedo and Lavia is a real kick in the teeth for Liverpool. Yeah, Liverpool, I think both teams are going to do well this year. They looked really good, much better compared to last year. But Liverpool are going to struggle more because they don't have a CDM. And although they might be able to outscore teams, midfield and defence is what win you games. And that midfield does not look balanced whatsoever with McAllister and Szoboszlai and Gakpo. I don't think that's balanced. And Chelsea, that midfield now is going to be Enzo, Caicedo and Lavia. And that is an insane midfield. Enzo Fernandez ran that game as well. He was man of the match. He was amazing. I think he was obviously he was very, not overpriced, but I mean, it probably was overpriced because he had a great World Cup, but Enzo Fernandez will prove his worth this season. He's a great player, and he ran that game completely in the midfield. I reckon if he improves his finishing, he's going to be one of the best midfielders this season. I thought Nicholas Jackson looked good. I thought he was a threat. I thought he looked good. But the main problem for Liverpool is the fact they've got no CDM. It's embarrassing, and it's going to be a big problem for them. And obviously both teams will be going for top 4. And I reckon they're definitely in for a shout. But for this match, I get 2 points because I got the correct draw, but I didn't get the correct amount of goals for both teams. And then going into the final game, my Man United, I predicted 2-1. I said it would be close, and I mean, you could argue it was close. We did win 1-0, but I don't know how we won 1-0 because we were shocking and we did not deserve to win. Wolves should have had a penalty at the end, and they literally admitted afterwards that it should have been a pen. Very, very dodgy. Mount was terrible, no balance in the midfield. If we play like that again, we're going to lose by 10 against a big team. I'm not even lying. City are absolutely destroying us if we play like that. And I've seen a few people criticising Casemiro. It's not his fault whatsoever. He's basically defending the midfield himself. Mount was just so off point yesterday, and it's not going to work if he continues to play like that. He's going to have to track back, or one of Bruno and him is going to have to track back and be more of an 8, another 6. Otherwise it's just not going to work. Everyone just ran through our midfield today. It was like a bus going through our midfield. It was awful yesterday. I think if we sign Amrabat, that'd be a good signing. It'll provide more balance in the midfield. But I don't think Man United will play like that again. I don't think so. We'll learn from it, and most importantly, we picked up a win, and that's what matters. I know it was very dodgy, but we picked up a win. And a clean sheet for Onana on his debut. And I thought Wolves played well. Gary O'Neill, I think he's going to be good for them. But I know everyone's saying that Wolves were amazing. The problem Wolves will have this year is they're not going to be able to score too many goals. They had so many chances yesterday, and they couldn't even score one, which is amazing. So overall, Wolves, I don't think they could have played a better game. The game plan was perfect, but they didn't score any goals, and that's how you win football matches at the end of the day. If you don't score any goals, you're not going to win. Simple as that. So yeah, that wraps up. Oh, no, sorry. I get 2 points for that because I got the correct win for Man United, but I didn't get the correct goals. So overall, combined this game week, I got 20 points altogether. I'm going to do a running total over the game weeks because I'll be doing predictions every single week. And then we'll tally it up and see how we do at the end of the season. And we'll have like the amount of points I've got out of the maximum you can possibly get. But yeah, that's the first game week done. Very exciting. If Man United play like that again, it's going to be a very long season and I'm not going to enjoy it. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and on to the next one. I'll release my predictions probably on Thursday or Friday before the kickoff at 7:45, I think, on Friday. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and have a good one.